言いなさいよ。もっと言いなさいよ。消化不良、栄養不良、成長不良。
I'll make this simple for any potential viewers. If you've ever watched a slice of life anime and you were bored by it or you didn't like it, then Dreamy 15 is not for you. But if a somewhat unconventional high school love triangle with fantastic direction interests you, then this might just be up your alley. This film is based off a manga by Kimiyo Yanigasawa titled Tonda Couple, which roughly translates to Flying Couple, which, in my opinion, captures the whimsical and flighty nature of the main duo's relationship far better than the generic title of Dreamy 15. There's also the alternate English title, Terrible Couple, but that also doesn't quite match up with the story, so I'll be referring to it as Tonda Couple throughout this review. The Tonda Couple manga won the Best Shonen Award at the 3rd Kodansha Manga Awards in 1979. So it makes sense that it was quickly adapted into a live-action film the following year on July 26, 1980. This was the directorial debut of a director who would go on to be considered a master of Japanese cinema throughout the 80s and 90s, Shinji Somai. Somai began his career in 1972 when he dropped out of university and joined Nikatsu Studios as an assistant director, where he worked under Kazuhiko Hasegawa and others. He was selected to direct Tonda Couple mostly by chance. The owner and founder of the production company Kitty Films, Hidenori Tada, cited choosing Somai simply because he was readily available, although the producer Kei Ijichi said that he believed that Somai's unconventional life experiences might bring depth to the coming-of-age narrative. Somai also took the role on a whim, feeling that Kitty Films felt young and energetic, so he figured, why not? Despite his casual approach, he clearly took his role seriously, and still put his all into making the best film he could, with his signature style already being prevalent throughout this film. Shinji Somai wasn't the only one making a debut here. This was Shingo Tsurumi's film debut coming from television, and Hiroko Yakushimaru's first starring role in a film. Despite Yakushimaru being prominently displayed on the poster for this film, the main character is actually Shingo Tsurumi, although Tsurumi and Yakushimaru together make the titular Tonda Couple, as Yusuke Tashiro and Kei Yamaba respectively. In prominent supporting roles are Mariko Ishihara as Akimi Sugimura, this also being her debut appearance, and Toshinori Omi as Nakayama. So, what is Tonda Couple about? The story follows Yusuke Tashiro, a high schooler who moves to Tokyo and accidentally ends up sharing a house with the strong-willed Kei Yamaba. As they navigate their new living arrangement, Yusuke and Kei gradually develop feelings for each other, but struggle to express those feelings. At the same time, Akimi Sugimura, the smartest girl in their class, also develops feelings for Yusuke and begins to get closer to him, complicating their relationship. Yusuke finds himself torn by his feelings for the two, and with university and an aspiration for boxing looming over him, he must decide what he wants for his future. Like I said in the beginning of this video, if you aren't into slice-of-life stories, then you will probably struggle to enjoy Tonda Couple. However, I quite like this film myself, even if I do find aspects of it to be cheesy or melodramatic. Shinji Somai's directing style really works for me, and feels almost effortless despite knowing full well that he puts his actors through hell, and, much like David Fincher is known for, does dozens of takes. Both Shingo Tsurumi and Hiroko Yakushimaru felt disappointed by the directing style of their follow-up films because they came to understand Somai's obsession for cinematic style, even if he would get angry with them in the process. Yakushimaru would later refer to this as being afflicted by Somai disease, and she jumped at the chance to work on his next film, Sailor Suit and Machine Gun. I think it's clear that his direction also brings out the best in his actors. The leads are all played by teenagers around the same ages as their characters, and they were all relatively early into their careers, but their performances are all remarkably polished. And this isn't a one-off case. Throughout his career, he worked with many young and first-time actors, and they always showed talent that I don't think a lesser director would have been able to get out of them. He treated them like professionals, and he knew what they were capable of, if he gave them the time and space to do it. He went a week over on the filming schedule, which brought him scrutiny from staff and the production company, but he stayed within the budget, so it worked out in the end. The story here is pretty standard affair for a high school love triangle. The relationships are quite realistically portrayed despite somewhat unrealistic circumstances, which I really appreciate since I can get really taken out of a film when a romance isn't believable. Not just the romantic relationships are believable, though, the friendships amongst the main 4 characters is also really well done. It's also quite funny throughout, as long as that teenage, uniquely Japanese zany humor works for you. For the music, I really liked Izumi Kobayashi's whimsical soundtrack. It felt well suited for the film. Her music would go on to appear in anime, notably Urusei Yatsura, which definitely makes sense to me given the vibe of her music here. Unfortunately, I wasn't much of a fan of the insert and theme songs, particularly the songs by H2O, but they do fit within the movie. You can listen to the whole soundtrack recorded from vinyl here on YouTube, uploaded in 2 videos by Kawakamasa. I'll have it linked in the description. Finally, I do have some small nitpicks about the story of this film, but it felt like it got into spoiler territory, so if you want to avoid spoilers, skip to the timestamp on the screen now. The first problem is the character Eri, who Yusuke sleeps with after Kei moves out. She really is just thrown into the story here, hardly introduced in an earlier scene. From my understanding, she is much more fleshed out in the manga and comes in at a different point in the story. I just really don't think she fits into the story of the film. The second issue is, I said earlier that the friendship between the main 4 characters felt realistic and well done, and that is true, except I have a slight issue with how Nakayama, the character played by Toshinori Omi, turned out. He gets jealous by Yusuke's burgeoning relationships, which is fine and makes sense for the story, but then seemingly out of nowhere, he goes a bit insane. Perhaps this was an issue of time, despite the runtime being 2 hours, but it still felt like there were bits and pieces left out that would have made the puzzle complete. To me, he lacked the development to justify him informing the vice principal of Yusuke and Kei's living arrangement, or, especially, calling in a fake bomb threat just before that. And then at the end of the film, when they're all playing human whack-a-mole, they all become overwhelmed with emotion, but it just isn't really clear why. You can sort of work out why they're feeling the way they are, but it's all a bit perplexing. Somai would later say that he wished he made the film with an overall lighter and humorous tone, so that when the emotional moments happen, they would have stood out more. And that might be what's missing here, I'm not really sure. Ultimately, this is a minor gripe with the film, and was more puzzling than frustrating.翔んだCouple would go on to achieve moderate box office success, taking in an estimated 500 to 800 million yen on a 100 million yen production budget. It was also received well critically, and won numerous awards, including Best New Director, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay at the 2nd Yokohama Film Festival, and the same awards at the Osaka Cinema Festival. It also ranked 11 in Kinema Jumpo's Best 10 list for 1980, and won the Popularity Award at the Japan Academy Awards. If you've seen翔んだCouple, let me know what you thought of it. For me, it may not be a perfect film, but it is a great introduction into the directing style of Shinji Somai and his ability to bring out the best in the actors he works with. I greatly look forward to covering more of his work in the future. If you enjoyed this review, please let me know in the comments, leave a like, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Go watch a Japanese film, and have a great rest of your day.